Hi again, this is Terry from the sunny Highlands. Very few clouds in the sky. It's a lovely day again, and today I'm going to continue in my mini series on Genesis, and this is part 9, and I'm going to be reading bits of scripture, parts of scripture from chapter 8, and I'm starting in verse 1. But God remembered Noah, and this is after he'd been in the waters for 150 days or so, but then it says God remembered Noah and all the wild animals and livestock that were with him in the ark, and he sent a wind over the earth and the waters receded. Verse 6 says this: and after 40 days Noah opened the window he'd made in the ark and sent out a raven, and it kept flying back and forth until the water had dried up from the earth. Then he sent out a dove to see if the water had receded from the surface of the ground, but the dove could find no place to set its feet because there was water all over the surface of the earth. So it returned to Noah in the ark, and he did it again, and he waited some time, and he did it again, and then when he did it again, eventually the dove didn't return. So Noah knew that the ground was dry. Then God said to Noah, come out of the ark, you and your wife and your sons and their wives. Bring out every kind of living creature that is with you, the birds and the animals and all the creatures that move along the ground, so they can multiply on the earth and be fruitful and increase in number upon it. So Noah came out together with his sons and his wife and his sons' wives. Dropping down to verse 20. Then Noah built an altar to the Lord, and taking some of all the clean animals and clean birds, he sacrificed burnt offerings on the altar. And the Lord smelled the pleasing aroma, and said it said in his heart, never again will I curse the ground because of man, even though every inclination of his heart is evil from childhood, and never again will I destroy all living creatures as I have done. As long as the earth endures, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night will never cease. So here we have God making a commitment, not just to Noah and his family, but also to the whole earth and all that's in the earth. And we can see the ark as a form of God's judgment upon mankind. So if we look at Matthew 37 through to 39, it says this: as it was in the days of Noah, so it will be at the coming of the Son of Man. For in the days before the flood, people were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, up to the day Noah entered the ark, and they knew nothing about what would happen until the flood came and took away them all. This is how it will be at the coming of the Son of Man. Now here's a story for you, really. People in them days, before Noah, didn't believe that God was going to deal with them, even though it seems to be very harsh. And people don't believe that God is going to deal with people today. And we need to see the truth of what the Scripture tells us, that what God is about in these days. Now, if we turn to the book of Peter, we see in 2 Peter 2:5. We see this. We see, if he did not spare the ancient world when he brought the flood on its ungodly people, but protected Noah, a preacher of righteousness, and 7 others. If he condemned the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah by burning them to ashes, and he made an example of what was going to happen to the ungodly, and if he rescued Lot, a righteous man who was distressed by the filthy lives of lawless men, if this is so, then the Lord knows how to rescue godly men from trials and hold the unrighteous for the day of judgment. See, here we see God rescues the righteous, and he holds the ungodly, the unrighteous, responsible for their actions. Again, let's turn to the first book of Peter and look at 3:20 3 verses 20. Who disobeyed long ago when God waited patiently in the days of Noah while the ark was being built? In it, only a few people, 8 in all, that's 7 of his family plus Noah, were saved through water. And this water symbolises baptism that now saves you also. Not the removal of dirt from the body, but the pledge of a good conscience towards God. It saves you by the resurrection of Jesus Christ. And here we go again. It saves you by the resurrection of Jesus Christ. 2 Peter 5, we see 2 Peter 2:5, we see this. We see, where's verse 5? You also, like living stones, are being built together as a spiritual house to be a holy priesthood, offering spiritual sacrifices acceptable to God through Jesus Christ. Here we see again, there's a sacrifice been made. You have gone through the, if you're a believer, you've gone through the ark, if you like, of Jesus Christ. Here's the ark today. And I just want to, Enoch had faith that what God said would happen. It says in Hebrews 11 would happen. So it is with Jesus Christ. John 6:37 says this: all that my Father has given me shall come to me. I will lose none. Just like Noah, God said, go into the ark and you will be saved. Jesus is calling today. This is the day of salvation. Let me just read you this last scripture that I've got. Yeah, where am I? It says this. This is 2 Corinthians 5 verses 20 through to 6 verse 2. It says, we are therefore Christ's ambassadors, as though God was making his appeal through us. He's making his appeal to you through us. We implore you on Christ's behalf to be reconciled to God. God made him who had no sin to be sin for us, so that in him we might become the righteousness of God. As God's fellow workers, we urge you not to receive God's grace in vain, for he says, in the time of my favour I heard you, and in the day of salvation I helped you. I tell you, now is the time of God's favour. Now is the day of salvation. If you call upon the name of the Lord, he will hear. He will hear you. Believe me, anyone who calls on the name of the Lord will be saved. Why? Because he loves you. He wants the best for you. He sees you need to see Jesus as your saving grace. You need to see Jesus in terms of your ark. Okay? Your ark. As you go into the ark, as you go into Christ, you are saved. No matter what happens around you, you are saved. Bless you, keep you, hope you have a great day, and speak to you soon. Bye.